Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Burden of Command, an upcoming turn-based war game that is also a leadership sim and RPG. This is episode number 8 in our Let's Play series of this game, which comes out on April 8th, and we just fought through a battle in the Moroccan campaign, Operation Torch, where we had multiple officers wounded, including our main character. This is a bit of an RPG, as I said. Fortunately, we'll find out here he's not too badly hurt, and so the campaign continues in today's episode as we begin the drive on Casablanca. But this was taken from a live stream from my Twitch channel from a few days ago, so without further ado, let's just jump back into that and see how things go from here. Despite having 2 officers wounded out of most of that fight, and then subsequent officers wounded. The air is split with the staccato roar of automatic weapons as your men breach the last strands of wire and charge the fire control tower. Well, no, that was whatever. Grenades sail through the air, through the vision slits of the concrete blockhouse. The attackers flatten themselves against the outer walls as the edifice trembles to the thunder of high explosive. Clouds of dust billow out the vision slits. Panicked shouts ring from inside the building. A moment later, a gaggle of men in muddy blue file out with hands raised above their heads. Why do their faces look like that? Why does his face look like that? Anyway, real bad touch-up work on real photos. At last, something almost like a silence falls over Cape Fidelia. No tanks are destroyed. Colonel Wilbur is unwounded. Prestige +2. This is your first real victory. Really? Is it? Acquire professionalism. The men are learning. If we keep this up. Plus 21. That's a huge realism score. We must be prepared for the next fight. You may have won your first real victory, but the war isn't over yet. You can't rest on your laurels just because you've managed to make it through your first few hours of fighting. The road to Berlin is going to be a long and hard one, with plenty of challenges along the way. It'd be better to start preparing for those challenges now, instead of getting complacent. We'll just let the Russians do it. Not badly done, Lieutenant, though we'll still have to deal with that second battery eventually. What are you talking about? What second battery? I took all the objectives. Colonel Moore, with your report, your success to him over the radio a few minutes later. Unfortunately, I can't let you rest on your laurels just yet. Colonel Macon's assembling the entire regiment for a push down the road to Casablanca. I need you and your company with us as soon as possible. Okay. I'm not even in your chain of command, sir. With that, the radio goes dead and you set yourself to getting your men ready to move. Soon enough, everyone is back with their platoon. All except one. You and Grant find Lieutenant Dearborn perched atop the retaining wall, staring blankly at the body of a fallen dogface. A cigarette dangles from his shaking fingers, still unlit. Lieutenant? Your sergeant calls out. Are you all right? Dearborn's back straightens. Rest assured, Sergeant, I'm fine, he replies. Don't you have a platoon to attend? It's only when Grant is out of sight and out of earshot that the other officer's mask of confidence falls away. Okay. I mean, Dearborn was the hero of that battle, but is it always like this? Dearborn asks, toward nobody in particular. We're all on our first day fighting, except for Wilson, pretty much, dude. Just chill. Like, what do you think I know? I've been in a few firefights before you, but still, like, what do I know? I'm on my first day too. The Virginian shakes his head. I feel a sickness to the pit of my stomach and ashes in my mouth. He turns to you, his patrician features twisted in a mix of anger and disgust. It feels like shame. I don't think winning is anything to be ashamed of. Winning! It's the cost of victory, Dearborn. You call this winning? Dearborn snarls back. I gave you my plan, and you trusted me. He flings his arms toward the dead man at his feet. He trusted me, and now he's dead because of it. Dude, we didn't follow any of your plans. Relax. I killed him as much as the enemy did. Okay. Men die. That's the cost of victory. Men do die. That is the cost of victory. The other lieutenant opens his mouth to say something, but then he stops himself and sighs. I suppose you're right, he admits, contritely. Caesar and Belisarius did not win their triumph without loss. It'd be foolish to expect ourselves to do better than their accomplishments. He shakes his head. I must not allow this sentiment to get in the way of winning this war. Dude, you're taking way too much on yourself. You're winning the war? Okay. Gentlemen, Grant interjects as he eases toward the two of you. The men are ready. My apologies. I've wasted enough of everybody's time. Lieutenant Dearborn mutters as he shifts his gaze toward the still living members of his platoon. I suppose we ought to move them out. With that, there's no more to be said. The three of you turn away from Cape Fidelia and back toward your men as they prepare themselves for the march ahead. Yeah, I would just say taking that town with the hotel was a victory, too. Just my 2 cents. All right, so Wilson is returning. Was MIA and is returning. Mine is a minor wound and returning. So I don't know the difference, like, in significance. I suppose maybe it's combat fatigue or something. I'm not really sure. In any event, these guys did take 2 casualties, so my crack squad took 2 casualties. I can reduce casualties by 1 at the cost of 3 prestige if I want experienced replacements, and these guys are already maxed out on experience, so that might be better. It's cost of 3 prestige? Regular replacements are 25 XP. Huh. We have a lot of prestige to spend, though. Alright, so Wilson's second squad. So we took 3 casualties in Wilson's second. Third squad, first platoon took 1. Third squad, second platoon took 1. First squad, first platoon took 2. Okay. You can get rid of stress? How? Okay. We still haven't seen Lieutenant Stern or our heavy weapons platoons yet. Alright, we'll spend a little bit to get these guys to... Wait, what? So how is it loyalty or prestige to get replacements? It's prestige. Okay, well I have plenty of prestige. Also, you only have a limited number of replacements, but we have 8, so that's enough to replace our losses. So I have plenty of prestige here. So let's just do what we can with the loyalty. These guys are up to 3. They get the extra unit or extra order. Okay. All right, so Wilson squad got the bulk of that that replacement cycle. I can increase my experience with prestige. I don't know if there's any reason to bank prestige. Yeah, it just accumulates till spent. Okay. All right, so we have 8 replacements in the pool, so we'll put 2 of them to our crack platoon here. We'll do experienced replacements, so that costs me prestige rather than experience, so they don't lose experience. Otherwise, you can pay for it with experience. But I'd rather pay for it with prestige. If I've got the prestige to spend, I'd rather pay for it with prestige. Okay. So these guys lose 50 prestige to draw 2 green replacements. But everybody's back. We're back to full strength. I'm at level 3 of cunning. Okay. All right. We have 1 replacement left. I don't know. So how often do you get replacements? Even if you have prestige to obtain replacements for casualties, that doesn't always mean they're available. For example, being in the midst of an extended fight makes them less likely. Perversely, superiors tend to give fewer replacements to companies that are doing well. After all, you don't need them as much. Note that if you're doing well on missions, you will be able to afford experienced replacements. Inversely, if you're struggling on missions, you may receive more standard replacements. Well, that's great. I did all of that. Okay. So I suppose we will see what's next. Road to Casablanca. 9th of November, 1942. So 1 day later.
But we lost a lot of soldiers. I mean, and also a German wolf pack come in at night. After the morning that night, a German wolf pack of submarines come in, and they sank 5 of our ships. You could just see them blazing out there in the water. I lost everything I had because the ship I was the name of the Tasker H. Bliss was the name of the ship that we went over on, and that sunk.
Huh. So the ship we came over on got sunk. Interesting. Tasker or Fidelia, dark.
Casablanca was right down that road.
The platoon assembles at the staging area before noon. The order to advance does not follow. That much, at least, is familiar. Hours pass. Your men itch at the crusted sea salt on their uniforms as they clean the sand from their weapons. The thunder of naval artillery echoes from offshore as the sun dips down. A messenger finally approaches at a walk. The messenger passes Sergeant Grant a slip of paper. Grant takes it straight over to you. Message from battalion, Lieutenant, he says. Glances at the message and frowns at what he reads. Upon examining the message, you can't help but do the same. Major Cloud writes that there's been a snafu on the beach, which you can believe given how many boats you saw wrecked. Worse, though, men might struggle ashore, though the pounding surf, jeeps, and trucks can't swim. The drive on Casablanca is delayed. Right now, the order is to consolidate. LT, one more thing. Roberts has been asking about when you're going to write Hancock's folks. Sergeant Grant says. It's impossible not to feel the sudden weight of Private Hancock's blood dog tags in your front pocket. He wants to include something. Okay. Sure. Grant pulls out a salt-rimmed notepad, all but wrapped around a battered pencil from his shirt pocket. Passes both to you. You didn't know Hancock well, but you could tell the man's folks that he was the first ashore. The Army would like that. Or you could write that he was shot by the French and then slowly bled to death on the cold sands. while the men at the platoon watched helplessly. That would be nearer to the truth. I'm not going to write that to his parents. I'm sure the censors would not. Yeah. No need for a lazy lie. Write what censors will allow. Write a draft for the men. What's the difference between no need for a lazy lie and spare no detail? I guess write what the censors will allow. There's no point in telling the truth if no one is listening. Better to give Hancock's folks something she can believe in, at least right now. You write. The story forms readily enough, one filled with a clean sacrifice. You have the feeling that you'll be doing this a lot in the days ahead. Roberts approaches you as you finish up. In his hands rests a letter of his own. LT, he asks in a distant voice. I'd like to send this to Sheldon's aunt, Cassie. I wish I could have been there with him when he... Hastily, he hands you the letter. Sure. Thank you, Lieutenant, Roberts says, and then clears his throat. I'll get back to it. Then he offers a proper nod instead of a sniper-baiting salute and heads back to the platoon. You read through Roberts' letter like the regs say you should. He writes about Private Hancock, about how they'd swap eggs and potatoes whenever Sergeant Layton buried a batch more to Hancock's liking. There's a mention of this terrible condition aboard the Tasker H. Bliss and the chaos of landing. The words are smudged around how he buried his friend. It is blunt, unvarnished truth. Destroy the letter? Gets combat fatigue. Fuck the prestige loss. My prestige is doing pretty good. I can... Whatever. It's not... I didn't write the letter. There's plenty of reasons not to send the letter or censor it, but there are a few to just send it as it is. Looking after fallen soldiers can only be a good thing. The brass might not agree, but then brass aren't the ones watching their friends die. If Roberts had to rewrite that letter, maybe he'll be in a clearer mind later. Prestige -1, combat fatigue +5, and realism +1. Night falls. The platoon beds down and sleep comes. The buzz of a distant plane startles you awake. The stars are still above. A fire, mostly embers, glows in the lee of Port Fidelia's seawall. Sergeant Grant crouches beside an upturned French helmet, balanced over the timid flame. He dunks a battered tin can cup into his helmet. The scent of something like coffee tickles your nose. Morning, Lieutenant, Sergeant Grant says as you sit up. At least, it will be in a few hours. He tips the cup toward you. Coffee? What sorcery is this? The good old American kind, Sergeant Grant replies with a grin as he passes you the cup. I hope you like your Joe brewed with a hint of sea salt and French steel, and probably a little sand for grit. The coffee is, without a doubt, the best terrible brew you have ever tasted. Okay. By the time Captain Lamb arrives, you are awake enough for tomorrow, too. Lieutenant, Captain Lamb says as he approaches, looking as tired and battered as you feel. I saw your prisoners on the way over. Actual Germans. Hope someone took a picture of them. But let's cut to the chase here. Turns out we've got some pretty big fish to fry today. The road to Casablanca is waiting on us. We're done waiting for the engineers to relieve us. The whole regiment is going forward. At dawn, your men will march south to relieve Item Company. Item Company? I mean, I'm assuming that's I Company, but I always thought I was like Indigo or something. Lamb says, I've already shifted Lieutenant Stern and the weapons platoon to a forward position in support of King Company. Apparently they lost... Wouldn't that be Kilo? Whatever. I don't actually know World War II naming conventions. Apparently they lost their mortars during the landing. Our weapon platoon is presently overlooking the road where you are going to kick off our company's attack. Now you've brushed up against the enemy more than I have, Lieutenant. Let's hear your thoughts before I send a runner to stern. Fog of war to me is more important than suppressing them, I think. We need to know what we're up against. We do. Maybe Stern can manage a little recon. Whether we faced cavalry or infantry is one question. How many is another? Captain Lamb says as he examines the map further. The only sure thing is that there's plenty of camels out there. Anything else to add? Where do you want me? Get up on the road at first light and don't stop until you reach Stern, Captain Lamb's orders. At 7:30, we'll head for Casablanca. Captain Lamb turns back toward the small knot of men who came up with him, his company HQ staff. Within seconds, they are following your CO as he disappears back into the pre-dawn gloom. India is NATO? Okay. Really? Item is such a weird thing to... Whatever. I guess I've never heard item before. E, easy, B, Baker, A, able. Like, yeah, those I'm familiar with. G, I'm assuming green. Sergeant Grant eases over. In the dim glow of the embers, you can see him stroke his stubbled chin thoughtfully. Orders, Lieutenant? Hey, friendly naval guns may be available as support. Friendly naval, yeah, let's try that. Uh-oh, the Navy again, Sergeant Grant notes hesitantly as his eyes meets yours. You know he's thinking about the snafu at Fidelia the other day. I'll make this work. Okay. Check with your radio man and send a confirmation request to the Navy. As a rule, it takes a major or colonel to get this kind of dedicated support, but from the way the operator coughed after you gave your call sign, it was clear that someone with more clout had already rattled their chain because they gave assurances that the light cruiser Augusta will be covering your avenue of advance. That's assuming the French don't sortie any more ships today. Corporal Crosley extracted his D-ration bar from a pocket. The wax paper crinkles loudly as he peels it back to reveal something almost, but not quite like chocolate. You're going to eat that, Private Morse asks? Or build a house with it, Private Patterson suggests. The D-ration was nominally a chocolate bar. Image courtesy of Oliver Drab. Roberts glances over. My wrapper says 1937, he remarks, just as Crosley takes a nibble of the ration bar. Crosley chews slow and manages to gulp things down with an effort. That's about right. No one else bothers with the D-bars after that. This is not family chocolate. You march. You're definitely not in Virginia anymore. The bark of unfamiliar rifles ring out ahead. A small band of American soldiers race across the road and hurl themselves into a ditch. Spurts of dirt fly up from where they had just been. With a barrage of now familiar orders, you order your platoon to deploy. The French mere figures, swathed in shadows on the next rise, scatter back and disappear into the desert. Lieutenant Stern rises up from amid the pinned patrol, firing his carbine at the distant enemy until the bolt locks open. Found the Miskate Kagurum! What? Lieutenant Stern calls out as he reloads frantically, as if afraid someone might get away. If you'd come earlier, there'd be even fewer now. You lead your men forward with him. To your right, a small column of camels and local men hurry down the road ahead, far away from the battle. Some of your men gape at the sight. Roberts fumbles with his camera for a picture. Your kid would be clapping with joy over this. Captain Lamb approaches not long after the camels pass. The handful of men that comprise his now paltry HQ staff trail behind him. He gives a sharp whistle and gestures to the leave an abode walled home. Wilson and Dearborn hurry over from their head of their platoons. When all the officers are assembled behind the dusty house, your commander flips open his map. Casablanca, down that road a piece, Captain Lamb says. then points sharply at you for emphasis. His fingers touch upon the hill nearby. That hill to start. We'll smack it with mortars and MGs, and then the first platoon will make the assault. Gentlemen, we'll go as far as practical. That means the men will keep pushing until they can't push anymore. K&L companies will cover your flanks against a French counterattack. Call on Stern if you need a wallop, the French. Call on me if you need a bigger hammer. Any questions? Sir, I've arranged naval gunfire support. Have you? Captain Lamb inquires. His eyebrows rise ever so slightly. Even after Fidelia? Well, that's an excellent initiative and makes you quite the optimist. It's better to have the Navy pukes in the tent, pissing out, than outside pissing in, Lieutenant Wilson puts in. Not the way I would have put it, Lieutenant Dearborn notes with an air of disdain. And I'll say it in French next time. Whoa. Captain Lamb pointedly clears his throat. It'll be good to have that sort of support, provided they can reckon the range right. Any worries? How soon will we be resupplied? Lieutenant Stearns asked. I'd hate to run out of ammo before I run out of targets. It's out of our hands, Captain Lamb says, as he casts a glance in the direction of a distant town you left behind. Trust the engineers to get the docks running and quartermasters to unload what we need. Anything else? What's the word on enemy armor? Aerial recon has yet to identify any enemy armor, Captain Lamb says, which is not to say they aren't around, just that our planes can't find them. We just don't have a lot of air power here yet. What else? If we run out of ammo, that's why they invented the bayonet. A little cold steel goes a long way, Lieutenant. You don't need to get too corked up about something you haven't done yet, Lieutenant Wilson says in a chilly tone to Stern. It ain't like the movies. When you run low, stop attacking, Captain Lamb indicates. Anyone have further thoughts? Major Cloud is doing everything he can for the battalion, Captain Lamb explains. Trust in that. Lieutenant Dearborn clears his throat as if to say something about that subject, but then wisely stifles his words. He glances back toward the port of Fidelia. The harbor is badly smudged with smoke. Okay. The group breaks up. Lieutenant Stern pauses and looks to you. I heard a rumor about Eddie, Private Hancock. Used to be in my platoon. What's the skinny? He was first out of the boat and died on the beach. Did he die on the beach? Whatever. Oh, Stern replies. A faraway look lights his eyes. Second and third platoons began to spread out. In a few minutes the advance will begin. Soon you may have to console some of the young men as they lay dying. The unlucky ones, anyway. We went to the same school together, Stern explained softly. I took Hancock's sister to prom. We could have been brothers. His jaw tightens in a sudden fury. Boy, I ought to get the first dozen of these filthy krauts I see just for him. Stern's trust +3. Well, we better get started then. Yeah, no kidding. The clatter of rifles erupts in the distance. Sounds like our kickoff. Okay, so I guess our scouting was successful, and we detected a bunch of enemy units. That's good. Why do I still say wounded returning on my portrait? I'm right there. I see me. I've returned. It's confusing. Anyway, so we've got a nice front. The whole company out. The objectives are to what? Just push as far as we can? There's a French objective on this railway down here. Is that the furthest south? There's some buildings here that are objectives. So basically it's just you're going to get objectives that you try to take. Just push as far as you can, I guess. Nothing on the left flank, although there might be bad guys in some of those firing positions. What's this? Infiltrate, creep, but advance 2 hexes instead of 1. Huh. There's my cunning thing. Lamb has 60mm mortars. The naval guns aren't here yet. Okay. All right. So these guys are not fully suppressed. They're somewhat suppressed. Do we have any enemy MGs that we can see? There's one back here. What's his radius of fire look like? Okay. And then this one. All right, this guy covers more of the front. So let's do this, because we're going to be attacking across pretty open terrain here. But let's go ahead and do some 60mm mortars. Wait. Why can I not? Can you not see anything from back there? Oh, you're on the reverse slope. Okay. Oh! I didn't mean to click that.
Casablanca is just down the road a piece.
Okay, so that was not intentional, but... The game's like click on, click off. Needs some work. Okay, so we drop some mortars. It also hurts the morale of the enemy troops on the right flank. So those guys are suppressed now. Stern, go ahead and use your MGs on this right flank. I'm going to try and hit these enemy units on the right first. Maybe break their line on the flank. Maybe they'll let me unbuckle the rest of it. I didn't mean to click that in this game or a thing. Yes. Yes, it is. All right. So, and then let's try and I guess I can't, none of these other all these other squads have the little red icon, which means they're suppressed. Except the MG can fire again, and we've got one squad back here that we can shoot at. Okay. So they're suppressed now too. So just a couple of squads that aren't. Stearns has 2 movements left. We've got another MG unit that can still fire. These guys are not suppressed, so we'll go for this unit. Got to get the whole enemy, all the enemies that we can see anyway. Let's try and suppress them. And then we can go for this MG unit back here too. We've got this nice little ridge over here that's providing overwatch for us. So we're going to be advancing across some open terrain, but the good news is we'll be advancing on, you know, we've got units back here on this ridge providing covering fire for us as we go. Yeah. So I don't think there's any need to do anything else this turn. I think we end the round for him. We've only got 13 turns. Oh, so the enemy, their round goes next, so they actually got to rally some boys. Or tried to. Looks like this right flank company here might be rallying. All right, Wilson, what can you do? Can you bolster your boys here?
Duncan, I'm counting on you.
We're moving into enemy fire, but with all the bad guys that we've seen being suppressed, we might not have too much to worry about. Well, it looks like maybe these guys were just detected. At least in terms of enemy troops that might be... Oh, he can't get there? Okay, so I can try and bolster and get in there and melee them, but there's still going to be a whole bunch of them around. Better probably to just move his whole platoon forward and use the points there to get them all moving. Soft sand. I don't see any cover. Really. Okay. I'd get in that house if I could. Let's shoot the guy with the officer. We'll assault him next turn. But that should increase their stress and suppression, so the officer's got to waste a turn reinforcing them or rallying them. And that does it for Wilson's boys. So move forward to the next phase here. Do they get to move again? Or I guess they have different... they have different loot companies or whatever, just like we do. All right, creep, but you have... Well, I don't have anywhere to end in cover, so we're just going to move across this... Well, actually, wait. Let's do Dearborn. He's on the flank. He can... These guys are suppressed. The officer isn't, but the troops are. So let's see if we can move here. Can you assault them? No? You probably need Dearborn with you to do that. So we'll move Dearborn forward here. He's going to take a whole bunch of stress to do this.
Come on. Gentlemen, charge!
Charge! All right, they're going to overrun that first company of French troops, or first platoon. Why do I keep saying company and platoon? That's the first squad of French troops. Now, that does use up all of his movement points, so he's going to leave these two squads back here. They can't move. Although I could use my captain to give him movement points, which I think I will, because I don't want them to get left too far behind. So we'll use Lieutenant Lamb's one extra action point to unlock that squad, and then they can make sure that these guys stay suppressed. Alright, so that leaves just my platoon. First squad over here.
L'heure est grave.
You guys move up the road, I suppose. Suppress these guys. Bolster and charge is going to be the name of the day. They were already suppressed, but I thought maybe we'd get better luck if we...
Let's earn our breakfast! Charge!
Maybe their morale would drop if we suppressed them again, which is why I did it. First objective taken. Alright, move up the road. Plane buzzes high overhead. God, I hope that's one of ours, Private Roberts remarks. No one says otherwise. Maybe it's a spotter for the, So there's bad guys down here. What can they see? Okay, so they cannot see to the roadway quite yet. All right. All right, you're going to need to get off the road. Move into the rough terrain here to get some cover. And then can you break in and assault these guys? They're in cover, so if you take them out, you'll... No, you can't. Okay. Well, you're at least in cover. That's the important thing. And I think that's it for this turn. Okay, so some of the French units are trying to rally and get themselves unshook. Okay, 1 turn down, 12 to go. Those guys are all still shook up. Can you fire artillery that far? No. You can't. Can this guy? Can I? I can't. I don't have that ability. I could try and move the captain forward.
There's no stopping now.
All right, can you charge this officer's unit? Because if we can eliminate the officer, I assume that'll make the rest of his subordinate units kind of come apart. With the way that officers are so important. Well, I guess they'll get a replacement officer probably, but in any event, Wilson's boys take that unit. Okay. Can you take out that MG? Nope. Alright. We'll use Lamb to allow me to move these guys forward. Alright. Pushing forward on the right. I think that pretty much does it for that company. I suppose we can try and move Lamb forward a little bit to that house. Can he bolster himself and do that? Yeah. What's this? Change facing. What are we currently... We just moved our captain. Wilson himself has expended all of his points. Although there must be some graphical glitch here because it looks like first squad still can move. So let's go ahead and end Wilson's turn, or round. And then we will move forward to the next leader's round now. So who do we want to go with next? I'm inclined to go with heavy weapons. I don't think anybody can call forward artillery quite yet up front here. Let's see here. We've got a couple of... I'm thinking Lieutenant Dearborn should go first. He's got first squad back here, which has 3 movement points, which haven't moved yet. So we will move them to catch up. One of the things a shout rises up on the right flank as a new enemy position is sighted. Moments later, that position is confirmed when the repeated crack of an anti-aircraft gun echoes across the desert as it spits fury at the plane overhead. Okay, so there's an AA gun? Where? Where is this AA gun? Over here? That's a long way to go get them. There's probably some infantry support out that way, too. Alright, at least they've got 3 movements. We'll hold off on moving those guys quite yet. Let's have Dearborn bolster. And then can he charge from here? He can. So rather than waste 2 movement points, let's see if we can charge this unit. They pass the morale check. Move forward here and charge this infantry unit. Get them to surrender along with their officer. And we push a little bit further down the main road on the left flank. To that end, can we charge these guys? We'll have him shift left and see if they can go after that MG. They can't. They fail. Okay, so there's an MG here. Dearborn's gotten one of his squads out this way. I don't know why it's not marking off. Oh, it just did. Okay. To that end, we're also going to move this one squad out left toward the MGs. I just got spotted by someone. I'm hoping it's just the MGs over this way. But at least that MG unit is suppressed. All right, we'll move these guys into cover here. And they've spotted the anti-aircraft gun, which is also apparently suppressed. I would think there'd be infantry guarding it, but no indication of that. So, we'll move out this way. I was hoping that Dearborn could move on this MG, or you know what I really should have done is instead of... Does this squad still have a movement point? There's some weird graphical glitches going on. I'm not sure what, but these guys are all expended. So I was hoping that you know what I should have done is I shouldn't have assaulted with this squad. I should have activated second squad, and then they could have come forward here to push on the machine gun. As it is, I've got a little bit of a straggler there, but one of these squads is going to go left and go for the MG, or for the anti-aircraft. Just a question of whether I got to get Dearborn sprinting over that way to lead the assault on it. So we've moved the right, we've moved the left. Wilson on the right, Dearborn on the left, and then hey diddle diddle, yours truly straight up the middle. The question is, how much cleaning up of these troops do we want to do? With my center section here, can these guys just assault? Do I have to? I don't have to bolster them, so I can move this lead squad here. Should have a good chance of assaulting these guys to clear out sort of, I guess, the right side of the screen, the left flank, based on the facing. But overran that guy. I'm not going to keep pushing to the right. I'll let Wilson clean up over there. This squad has 3 action points, though, left. And there are enemy units. Let's hold off on moving them quite yet. Let's move both. A runner from Dearborn's 3rd Platoon scampers over to you. His uniform is covered in dust, but there is an eagerness in his eyes. Lieutenant! Lieutenant! Dearborn's compliments! He's discovered what looks like an anti-aircraft gun outside his line of advance. He'd like your agreement to swing his platoon wide and take it under fire. Okay. Sure. I'll support whatever. I guess he's my subordinate, but, like, technically Lamb is on the field and in charge, so I don't know why I'm the one making this decision. The chain of command in this game's a little weird, where they clearly want you to start as lieutenant, and you'll eventually get promoted, but, like, it kind of has you playing both roles. Anyway, I'll support my subordinate in whatever he deems best. I was going to move him over that way anyway, but I don't know. I don't know what that action will accomplish by itself. All right, let's bolster these. So we've already moved this squad. We've moved this squad. So let's bolster here. This is the perk of having my officer have so much experience, is that he can move a lot. Or he can get a lot of units moving. We're going to move second squad up without me. Just second squad. I will catch up on my own, where I deem best to deploy myself. This should be scrub. This should be cover, but it doesn't look like it. So we'll just move the 1 hex. And then I had hoped to be able to... I kind of forgot I was going to be using my command point because I wanted to press them, but what's the LOS tool? So I don't want to move too much further. So 3 more hexes on the road, 4 off center to keep out of their line of sight. So move this way. They should still be out of line of sight. So we've got a squad on each flank of the road. And we'll move my officer to go join the troops that he could have joined with when he sent him up that way. And we're going to move this squad over here. They're now spotted, but they'll move into this house. A fighter painted with a deep blue of the U.S. Navy zooms down, its machine guns chattering at a distant target. An answering barrage rises up from the ground off to the west. The plane's engine coughs and growls. Black smoke pours out of the wing, out as it wings off unsteadily toward the sea. There's a friendly carrier somewhere out there. The Ranger, if the plane can reach it. All right, so we move these guys down here. So the first squad, first platoon, which is my most experienced squad in the entire company, is out here at the vanguard. There's 2 French squads down here. Both are not fully suppressed. They're partially suppressed. So we will shoot at the one we can shoot at. Maybe that'll get them fully suppressed. Yep, it does. So these guys are now fully suppressed. So just the one squad that we've spotted that isn't fully suppressed. And I suppose, since everybody else has moved, we should go ahead and get stern moving too, because I don't see much use in keeping these heavy weapons stuck back on these rocks. It's a nice little ridge, but it doesn't push far enough forward, so I think we'll move these MGs. Well, first off, before we do that, let's move the mortars. How far can they move? I don't know. So move the mortars first.
Come on already.
They can only move once. Move these MGs here. Maybe to this hill. They can provide some cover there. And MGs expend extra effort to move, but I still don't have the naval guns yet. I can go ahead and press, hopefully. Maybe they can move again? Nope. Takes 2. They can shoot at these guys. I guess they might as well do that. They're already suppressed, but they have an officer at least, so hopefully it makes the officer feel less comfortable. But I think that's everybody, so we'll go ahead and end the turn. And we got 11 turns left.
I hear thunder.
All right, so Stern is probably not in a position yet to be doing much. So let's get him up onto this little rise here with his MG section. Move these mortars into this house for some cover. And keep the MGs down here moving. There's still nothing to call in. Guess I might as well bolster. So heavy weapons are down this turn. That'll do it for that. I don't particularly want to use my captain to do anything with the MGs at this moment. Meanwhile, I want to try and overrun some of these guys here. Can these guys assault, or do I have to get my... Alright, these guys are close enough without bolstering to be able to assault this MG. Man, there's like an officer on every one of these French units, it seems like. Anyway, Oh, it was an acting officer, so it was a backup officer. Their primary had already been killed or lost. Alright, so knock that MG out. Go ahead and use them to suppress and demoralize the officer that had been back there. Keep Wilson's squads moving forward. Go ahead and bolster these guys.
Bully,
Give them a
give
better
it to 'em.
chance of assaulting this squad down here.
Keep up.
And hopefully we can keep
Paris, with me.
pushing the French. And this is obviously like, again, this is North Africa, this is Torch, this is not, I would not expect when I'm fighting the Germans to be, you know, just running them over with ease every single time we spot anything. Right, let's push this squad down a little bit more. The officer can move further so they can keep up the pressure on both of these. Lamb, I don't think, has the naval guns yet, so he's still sort of chilling. I guess I could get him closer and press one of these squads on Wilson's end to keep him pushing further. But not sure I really need to do that on the right at the moment. Meanwhile, alright, so let's end the round for Wilson's boys. They've all moved. Stern already moved. Where's the enemy anti-aircraft gun? Shouldn't it be right here? How do we not spot it? I'm confused. Okay. So to assault them, do I need to bolster? I hate using my movement points there to do that. Let's activate this guy. I always forget that bolstering does not, in fact, count as a activation. That's going to be something that I need to learn. Alright, so they'll assault next turn. Alright, that kind of does it. I guess we got to get Captain Lamb going. I suppose actually we could activate using Captain Lamb and assault the MG here. So we used one of Captain Lamb's orders to get them moving. Overran that MG position. Good job, boys. And keep pushing south on this flank. Also, can I press with Lamb? No, he's too far away. If he was adjacent, he could press that squad and get him moving. Alright, keep up the pressure. Let's see here. First squad. And that. Okay. And then last company still needs to move here. Let's get these guys into the factory here. They should have some cover there. They're going to get shot and surprised, but no suppression damage there. Alright guys, this is going to end up being a longer battle, almost 2 hours, so we're going to split this in half here, and we'll pick this up next time on the channel. But until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying. And until next time, I'm out. Bye-bye.